Coming up on Behind the Woman,
I'm excited to introduce Indaria Jones, Michelle Brooks Rollins, and Vicki Brackens. Each of your businesses are thriving in this community.
Like, it's your business, it's your baby, but it's not really for you. It's for, the masses and people that need it.
Just because you're not valued doesn't mean that you're not valuable.
Be focused and understand who you are, and what you're trying to accomplish.
Every business really solves a crucial problem.
Good evening and welcome to Behind the Woman. I am your host, Dr. Johanna Rogers, and we are here to recognize and get to know amazing, diverse women enhancing Central New York. And of course, it's including our guests tonight. I'm excited to introduce Indaria Jones, Chief Executive Officer of the Creatives Lounge, Michelle Brooks Rollins, serial entrepreneur and Executive Director at Upstate Minority Economic Alliance, and Vicki Brackens, President at Brackens Financial Solutions Network. I want you to gather your family, send a text to your friends, and tell them that Behind the Woman is on and you do not want to miss tonight's episode. Because we have a dynamic panel of women here with me, and I'm excited to share your stories tonight. We're going to start with each of you telling us a little bit about maybe who you are, where you're from, how did you get to Syracuse? That's always something folks want to know. And what got you working as an entrepreneur in this specific community?
So I'm going to go ahead and jump in. As you said, my name is Vicki Brackens. I'm president of Brackens Financial Solutions Network. I am originally from Texas, and I have been here now since 1989. I actually had a short stint in another city in upstate New York, Rochester, but okay. my roots and home have been planted here in the Syracuse area for several years. Right? Okay. I heard, in fact, Karen Hunter and Dr. Greg Carr talk about the fact that sometimes your DNA is set for a particular path in life, but you may not realize it until you look back. Right. My family actually I came from a family of several entrepreneurs and didn't realize it until I started looking at genealogy, because when your grandparents are your grandparents, you just love them. Yeah. You know, like what did you do and what did great-grandparents do and so forth. But my great-grandfather and his family owned a grocery store in a very small town in Texas. My grandfather was the first black police officer for the state of Texas and actually formed the National Black Police Officers Association. Wow. My mom and my dad, who were both well educated and were in individual professions, actually came from families where her father was a mortician, my dad's father, as we just talked about, and so the entrepreneurial, and her brother-in-law went out, and her brother went off to the merchant marine. So that wonder spirit of not being settled, yeah, when you are just part of an organization where you're striving to do more, was planted in the DNA. Yeah. And so I feel better knowing that. It took some years for trying to figure out why have I never been satisfied being in the traditional roles. It was because it was built into the DNA.
It was built into the DNA. Michelle, how about you?
Certainly. I'm a Hoosier born and raised. I was born in the state of Indiana, in a small town, Anderson, right outside of Indianapolis. Yep. And I migrated to Syracuse University on a full fellowship to the Maxwell School. This is, I'll date myself here, but 1989.
So you two arrived about the same time. Okay. The plot thickens.
Yes. And so, similar to Vicki, entrepreneurism runs in my family. My late father comes from a lineage of funeral directors, and even though I did not choose that path for myself, I definitely feel his entrepreneurial imprint in all of the things that I've been doing.
Now, did both of you know you had this?
No, we didn't. We found this out about 30 seconds ago.
Okay. Indaria, Is anybody in your family a funeral director? Because this is going to be really interesting.
Not that I know, but
Okay.
I might find out, right?
All right. But how about you?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised here in Syracuse, New York. I went to all city schools, including Syracuse University. I left for a while to pursue a career in marketing, working in the entertainment industry, and I came back to really start my own business. I think during the time that I left, I went to New York City, and it's a very hustle type of environment. I think it brought out what, like Vicki said, what was already in me from my parents. Both of my parents are very, especially my mom, like go-getters and very like hustler, entrepreneur type folks. And while I was in New York City, I started my first business to like really survive, and it grew into something that I never thought it would be, which is the Creators Lounge today.
Yeah. What is it like every day to show up at your respective offices and kind of dig in, knowing that there's no one else to call per se, right? Like you are where it starts and sort of kind of when it stops. Sometimes that can be scary for folks. And so the fact that you all show up every day and do it says something.
I think in the earlier stages, before there was a team, it was frightening. I have been very lucky now that I've been very blessed to have a very seasoned and committed team that works with me. The fact that we have that infrastructure behind everything that we're doing now means that I no longer feel like I'm in an island. But if I had to go back to the time when I was an island, okay, and it was just myself and my spouse, Earlene Jones, okay, when we started together, it was scary because you knew you had to pay all the bills and you had to make all the decisions, and every decision rests on your shoulder. So that's when you really need, and folks forget about this, you need a mentor in your life no matter what stage of life you are in. So I had to rely on the guidance of some very strategic voices to help me walk through that. And I'm glad that I did, and I try and do the same thing now as far as providing that type of strategic voice for other entrepreneurs who are just stepping into their roles and trying to build their new enterprises.
Yeah. And Daria, how about you?
It's different when you know that this business is solely relying on you and this thing, especially when it's for a greater purpose than you. Like it's your business, it's your baby, but it's not really for you. It's for, you know, the masses and people that need it, because every business really solves a crucial problem. And so I think that's what kind of keep me going, and especially when it was just me. But yeah.
Michelle, I think the point Vicki made was about having a mentor, someone to call on, even though the buck kind of starts and stops with you. And even to Daria's point, you know, it has a purpose. And I think in the things that you do, there's also a clear, if not also a divine purpose. And so what do you do, or who do you call, or how do you handle some of the challenges with being in the chair that makes the decision?
Certainly. Well, one of the challenges that I've experienced as a hybrid entrepreneur is that, and this is actually a good warning for folks out there who are entrepreneurs and business owners or considering it, is that when you plant seeds in the ground and you water them and you cultivate it carefully, and of course I'm speaking metaphorically, but don't be surprised if those seeds transform completely into trees and miss the plant phase, which is what I feel has happened to a great extent, because you're in it for the long haul, right? And you try to do all the right things and make mistakes and missteps and so on and so forth. But that's a good warning I'd like to put out there, because when the business grows and expands, as Vicki and Indaria have alluded to, then you have to think about how to outsource the things that either you don't want to do or the things that you don't know how to do or don't have the time to do.
Got it. So knowing when to call it, right? Knowing when to call someone, when to outsource someone. I would imagine, like you said, each of your businesses are thriving in this community. And Daria, your point about like they have a purpose, they're offering something to someone else. We'll see a little bit more about them in a moment. What has been your greatest challenge in leading your entities?
I would say, though, for me, the greatest challenge has been talent acquisition.
What do you mean by talent acquisition?
Okay. Yeah. The profession that I'm in, I run a financial planning firm, which you know, financial planning and investment management. The time period for training and really to become proficient in the technical aspects is about a 5 to 7 year time frame. Really, for someone to really, okay. Now, you are mentoring and growing that person throughout, but it's a much longer process than most people realize. And so to encourage, attract individuals to come into the profession is a challenge, okay? And so acquiring talent, and I'm always looking for the individual who has the integrity level, the intellect, and the mission. Okay, you can feel that they have a grasp of the mission and are ready to commit to that long-term process.
Long-term process, yeah. I mean, the point about trying to find folks to fill in, and I imagine, and with each of you, you know, finding folks that could speak to our community.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yes.
And understand the nuances of talking about our money, right? And Daria, how about you?
In terms of trying to find people who understand our community, I think my biggest challenge as founder of an incubator that cultivate startup and small businesses in our community is finding resources and partnerships that are intentional about supporting and lifting up the type of entrepreneurs who aren't the typical average entrepreneurs. They might not have a handout, majority of them don't. There are a lot of things I see in partnerships I see that are cute, but...
Did you say cute?
You said cute, right?
She said cute.
But I think we need to be more intentional. And I think when I digest a lot of things, because I'm so on the ground and I'm from, you know, on the ground, I can easily notice barriers, you know, like there would be a program that would be nice and it would sound nice, but then there's always a but.
Right.
So I think that's my biggest challenge, is just really working through those partnerships and relationships to make them super more intentional and accessible for entrepreneurs in our community.
I love it because the whole time I'm thinking not cute, right? Not cute. Because in each of the areas that you all are working, you know, you're dealing with people, right, at a very vulnerable state, right? Like they're trying to get something done. They're trying to actualize a vision that they have. Or they're trying to plan for their futures. Or they're trying to get something started sometime with minimal resources. Or Michelle, you mentioned being a hybrid entrepreneur. They're trying to do this but still have to work, so time is limited and we don't have an abundance of resources. So we don't have time to be cute. Like tell us what we need. Give us what we need. Yeah. Before we continue with this conversation, let's take a look at some of the examples of how these women are making economic impact and helping with economic development within many diverse communities.
The Creators Lounge is a co-working space. We are a space where people come, entrepreneurs and professionals come to find inspiration, connect, and create to help further their business goals and also their professional goals. So whether that be for, you know, to start, grow, and expand their businesses or their careers. Not all co-working spaces should just be dead and boring, you know. We want people to enjoy what they do. We want them to be inspired and fulfilled while they're doing it. And so we host a lot of experiences to sort of add value into the work that we do. So, aside from our programming or events, we host a lot of social networking, annual creator awards that a lot of people look forward to, where we highlight a lot of creators all across the U.S., and a lot of people come into town for that. We have a lot of exciting things coming, and we just want to be all that we are for everyone that we serve. So I think next for us is really to keep our eyes on the prize and the long-term goal that we have, which is so much greater than what it's been. So I'm excited for that.
We're at the On Center at the Dream Summit VIP reception. The Dream Summit is an economic and community development empowerment summit that's been in the making for 2 years now. And today we had a stellar panel of keynoters of national repute, as well as breakouts centered around buying back the block, school to prison pipeline, financial literacy, and a myriad of other topics. And behind me, the guests are mingling and enjoying the company of celebrities that the company Event Preps secured, Soledad O'Brien and Jamil Hill. And this evening will conclude with an award ceremony, but in essence, this is what Event Prep does. We are a full-scale event, conferencing, and hospitality firm located right here in Central New York. The projects Event Prep particularly enjoys is when clients share with us their vision, particularly novel visions, that are going to improve the lives of people as well as their communities. And so Event Prep is honored to help make those clients' visions come to fruition. We put the logistical legs behind those visions.
Brackens Financial Solutions Network is an investment management and financial planning firm. Money touches every element of your life. And because of that, you can impact individuals' lives throughout everything that they do, everything that they think about, all the dreams and aspirations that they have. And you can create a sense of well-being that, if you do it properly, will transcend not only themselves, but their families and their community. And if you don't have a guide, and you've not had some experience in some of the technical areas, it makes people feel very frightened. So we hope that once they start working with us and working with our team, we all hope that they feel more confident, assured that they have someone and a team that's working on their behalf, that's working for their well-being, but they are also gaining knowledge and skills that will make it possible for them to be more confident in the decisions that they have to make going forward. This is a partnership. So we can give you directions and work with you on the things that need to happen, but you must do the work. So as a team together with this partnership, when we see those things happen and the impact, I feel grateful that I was given the opportunity, that my team was given the opportunity to really work with and walk with someone through those life journeys to the end that they really wanted to accomplish.
When I think about what each of you are doing in your own sectors, I know personally, just having seen or been a part of some of your work, that you're making an impact individually on this community, but also as you sit here as a panel of women with me tonight on Behind the Woman, I'm just envisioning the impact and the seeds that are being planted by what you're doing today. Can each of you briefly offer some words of wisdom for someone who's watching tonight's show that maybe always aspired to start their own business, maybe are looking to create that event that they have imagined, or want to get their finances in order, or meet other entrepreneurs that are striving for the same thing? What advice would you give to some of our viewers that might be fitting in one or all of those categories?
Be careful not to confuse entrepreneurship with vision, being a visionary, or being a technician. Because it really is the crossover of those two things. It's where those things meet. Because an entrepreneur has to have vision, an entrepreneur also has to have the execution skills, and sometimes we have a vision for doing something or to be an inventor, and the product is not the entrepreneur. It's what we deliver. Or we have the ability to execute because we are a manager, okay? But the management skill is what's necessary to move the product to market. But the entrepreneur is the person who brings those things together and has enough wherewithal and belief and understanding to go find the other things to create the team in order to move this forward.
Yeah.
Be focused and understand who you are, what you are, and what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay. Michelle, what about you?
I would say just because you're not valued doesn't mean that you're not valuable. I would encourage people to identify what are they great at, actually what are they excellent at, and what do they love to do the most. Because whether you are a professional or an entrepreneur, those things will attract themselves to you. So what others may perceive as weaknesses or perhaps even criticize you for, find your superpower and leverage that. And once you can tap into that, do what feels natural to you, and you're going to excel at it, and you're going to silence the naysayers.
Yeah. You are valuable. That's a good one. Indaria, last but certainly not least, what would you say?
I guess I would relay a quote that inspired me and really always stuck in the back of my mind when on my journey of entrepreneurship in the beginning. And that's by Denzel Washington when he was winning. He won an award. I can't remember what it was for, but his quote was, without commitment, you'll never start, but without consistency, you'll never finish. And then he went on to say, ease is a greater threat to success than hardship. And so I think I remember watching his speech, and I was like, had an idea, like this visionary, and then I had these technical things, and I think that quote right there just really brought me in the middle and say, okay, I need to bring 1 and 2 together, and I need to make 3, and I need to bring this thing to life. And so I think a lot of people, we start, or entrepreneurs start with that commitment, but then we have to be consistent no matter what, even in the hardships.
Be consistent and be persistent. I want to thank you, ladies. This is inspirational for me, and I'm honored that you've taken time out of your busy schedules to be with us tonight. Indaria, Michelle, Vicki, thank you for joining me this evening on Behind the Woman and allowing us to learn a little bit more about you and the incredible work that they're doing in this community. If you would like to view this show again, and you should, and share it with others, visit us online at wcny.org/behindthewoman. My name is Dr. Johanna Rogers, and on behalf of the Behind the Woman team, thank you and have a great evening.